Hello and welcome to another game with my Halfling practice team, Harvey's Birdmen! And this time I'm taking on the Necromantics or something like that, I can't quite remember, who are a Necromantic team. Which means they're very much like undead, but instead of having mummies they have flesh golems who are not quite as strong but can stand firm, so if you hit them they stay in place, which is it's a very annoying skill. And they can move slightly faster, and they can also take 2 werewolves. I don't think they can take quite as many ghouls as undead. I could be wrong about that, I can't quite remember, but they can take 2 werewolves, and werewolves are essentially their star players. And werewolves are fucking amazing, because they have movement 8, I think it is. They have claw, which means they can rip through armour, such as treeman armour, potentially. And, what else? Is there anything else about them that I'm missing? I can't remember. Movement 8 and claw is enough. Movement 8 and claw is enough. So, yeah, they're complete bastards. And my mission, whenever taking on necromantic teams, is to destroy them as fast as I conceivably can. As you can see, I'm kicking off. Even when I score the opportunity to decide on what to do, such as receive or kick, I'm pretty much always choosing kick now, as I'm finding it generally is more favourable to the way I play. Well, it enables me to perform the whole you score quickly or you don't score at all tactic in the first half, and then counter score on them, and then take my time about scoring in the second half. And since it's had such consistently decent results, I'm choosing kick almost always, and since most people want to receive first, whenever other people are given the opportunity, I'm often also kicking, so that's perfectly fine by me. As you can see, my opponent's setting himself up on the front, getting his werewolf on that right flank, so that he can blast straight down there, but then he decides to change his mind and puts him at the back. He seems to only have 1 werewolf. Oh, right, yeah, I remember. One of them is injured, which is very, very handy. I'm pretty sure in my last Wood Elf game, he had one of his war dancers off, actually. Who, bleh. I'm pretty sure in my last game versus the Wood Elves, my opponent actually only had 1 war dancer, thanks to having one of them injured. So, getting pretty damn fortunate in that respect, because, 2 werewolves is a bloody nightmare. 1 werewolf, a lot more manageable, you know. Keep an eye on him, manage where the hell he's going. But for the most part, I mean, werewolves aren't a giant threat to my team, since claw doesn't really mean shit versus my halflings, since they've got terrible armor anyway. Yeah, you know, generally speaking, claw reduces armor to 7, but since we've got armor 6, it makes no bloody difference. The only people that might suffer from getting attacked by claws are my treeman, and if he's going to do that, he's going to need 4 additional people standing next to the treeman in order to get that add 4 modifier to get the strength 7 attack on my strength 6 treeman to get a 2 dice block on him, basically, and have a good chance of actually knocking him down. So long as I keep a halfling around a treeman, keep my treeman in line with other people, he shouldn't be able to get that. Having said that, he could still risk a 1 dice block or blitz potentially with his werewolf. Now, as you can see, the first thing my opponent's trying to do here is just get around my flanks, try and surround my team, which is a good idea. I mean, generally that's the best thing to do versus halflings. Just stand next to them and then force them to dodge. Following turn, anyone that hasn't dodged, you kill, basically. And the first thing my opponent does here is run in and rip the eyes out of one of my halflings. And then follows on to move into another halfling, which, again, good idea. Mark as many halflings as you can. Threaten the entire bloody team. His zombie pushes back one of my... Well, he knocks over one of my halflings, but the fact that he hasn't had his armor broken feels like a push to me. It feels like a good result. And it's onto my turn very quickly. So the first thing I'm going to do, by the looks of it, is stand my halfling up. Which means I'm not going to stand my halfling up, doesn't it? Yeah, I'm going to stand my halfling up. I'm going to dodge. Why the hell am I dodging? Oh, to do the 3 dice block with my treeman, most likely. Yeah, I think all the halflings I have at the moment are in tackle zones. I'm not sure, because this was recorded at the time and thus I can't scroll down the screen and tell. So yeah, I'm as clueless as you are as to what the hell's going on down there at the moment. Of course you have the luxury of being able to go back in the video, whereas I'm forced to sit here and listen to my own monotonous voice. Oh, there you go. Second thing I do is try and dodge over to the right, and consequently my halfling falls over, leaving every other halfling on the team in jeopardy as they're all standing next to opponents. Oh no, one of them isn't. So yeah, they can all be slaughtered in this turn. So that's good. Yeah. Why the hell did I move my halfling to the right there? I'm sure it was some genius plan. Oh, I think I was going to try and break tackle out with my... Yeah, what the hell was I going to do? Oh, yep, I was going to break tackle. I dodged my halfling to the right there. I remember this. I dodged my halfling to the right there, the one that's currently stunned on the floor, because I was then going to hit that zombie in the middle with my right treeman, get a 3 dice block on him. I wouldn't be able to do that. 2 dice block on him, I guess. Knock him over, I'm hoping, and have a free space left to actually dodge my left treeman out to move down the pitch. Because if I hadn't have moved that halfling to the right, I wouldn't have actually been able to break tackle down to that werewolf with my left treeman, since the moment he break tackles out, he'll then still be in that zombie's tackle zone, and thus his movement would have just ended in that one space to the bottom. So I wanted to hit that middle zombie and then have a space free for me to actually be able to break tackle out with my treeman. And thanks, I mean, if he didn't have his left flesh golem standing in the place where he is, I'd have been able to go that way, but thanks to him being there, I can't do that. So yeah, it was all centered around trying to attack that werewolf. But yeah, failed the dodge roll, and now halflings are getting hit. So next halfling to get hit is my sidestepping halfling, who is still on the pitch, so that's something. Not looking good for my team as a whole though, because my treemen are still locked up by zombies, which is exactly what my opponent wants. Use your useless players basically to lock up the treemen. Again though, we do have break tackle on these treemen, so it's not all bad. It's not all bad. So immediately I go and perform another risky dodge. It's not too risky, I mean we're only going to fail 1 in 9 times, but still, I think since everybody is in a tackle zone, the only real movement I can do at the moment is dodge. So yep, I line up that halfling there so that I can push his other zombie out of that treeman's tackle zone, which will then enable my left treeman to be able to blitz down the field. So now he's freed up. Oh, he can't actually blitz. I mean, he can blitz a flesh golem, but I don't want to blitz a flesh golem. I want to blitz the werewolf. So, yeah, it seems like I'm going to go over and blitz the flesh golem, because that's the only alternative right now. So I at least can push him out of my halfling's tackle zone. Oh no, of course he can't. He's got stand firm. So, yeah. If I'm going to get that halfling out, I'm going to have to do more dodging. So it seems I'm going to dodge this halfling out now, who's successful. Good. If I can get one more halfling around that werewolf, I can 2 dice block him. Oh, but the final one falls over. But he's not hurt, so at least he can't be punched, I guess, is the good side to that. As you can see, my opponent's ball-carrying ghoul is halfway down my side of the pitch, which basically means he can score now if he wants to. My opponent's got me pretty well locked up here. So he moves in with his flesh golem, laying down some more tackle zones on my halflings, as well as supporting that werewolf. But yeah, he's decided he's going to try and delay it. He doesn't want to score too fast. He wants to delay as long as he can, which is a good idea. I mean, he's got his team in a really good position on my team at the moment. He has the opportunity to go for loads of blocks, you know, damage as many of my halflings as he can, absolutely ruin them, which is a good idea. That's what you want to do. If you can, just delay until the last turn and beat the absolute shit out of the enemy team. Okay, so now he's going to zombie punch my sidestepping halfling in the top right. He has been knocked down, so whether this sidestepping maneuver will make any difference, we have yet to see. Well, he's stunned, so that's good. He's not dead. He's not dead. He will be up in time. He runs his other ghoul in to go and likely support his first ghoul carrying the ball, just in case I should perform any miraculous shit and manage to get my halflings out there to go and hit him. Smacks another halfling down with his werewolf. I'm doing pretty damn well on the armor rolls right here. Pretty damn well indeed. His flesh golem goes and rolls an attacker down and a both down, and so consequently takes the both down in an effort to try and hurt the halfling, but my halflings are, I don't know, I think the ice has covered their skin from the pitch and it's made them exceptionally hardy today, because they are not getting hurt. They're going down, but they are not getting hurt. And so now it's on to my turn. I haven't a clue what I'm going to do here. I imagine I might go and blitz that ghoul with my treeman. Doesn't achieve a whole lot, but it's just something to do. Try and damage his team before he can do too much to mine, or at least damage his fast players. Damage the ones that can actually do something with the ball. I'm not too fussed about the flesh golems and the zombies. In an ideal world, I'd go for his werewolf, but he's got so many tackle zones around me at the moment, there's not much opportunity to actually do anything to his werewolf. I guess I could blitz down into the white and get my treeman next to the werewolf, and then have his werewolf fairly locked up. I mean, he can still punch a halfling out with his werewolf to get him away from the treeman. Oh, I attempt some incredibly risky shit here and decide to running break tackle into 3 tackle zones in an effort to blitz that werewolf, and we stun him, so that's good. So what was that? Let me think. So I think it was a 3 or more, yeah. With his strength of 6 and getting the add 1 modifier for dodging, I think with the -3, thanks to being in 3 tackle zones with that break tackle, it would have been a 3+. So a 3+ with my reroll to get into that particular space that he did. You know, that's pretty good. Only 1 in 9 chance of failure, as with halfling dodging. So yeah, he had actually pretty decent odds to break tackle into that space, so it wasn't too risky. And I really wanted to hit that damn werewolf. And now it seems like I'm trying to get into position to foul him. So yeah, things are looking up. At least I haven't got halflings standing next to each individual one of his players. His zombies are mostly in no tackle zones. I mean, he's only got 1 zombie in the tackle zone of one of my halflings, so he can't perform quite as many hits as he could in previous turns. Attempt to dodge out with another halfling, and he gets kicked to the face by the white and promptly knocked out. But yeah, again, not all bad. At least we've got the werewolf on the floor. If he doesn't score now, I think he knows what's going to happen to that werewolf, or at least what I'm going to attempt to do to him. So he begins moving his zombies down the pitch. They're not too far off. They are getting into halfling tackle zones now, which is a pain in the arse. For me, that is, anyway. And he's pretty well cut off, that top treeman, from being able to support my bottom group of halflings and treemen. Oh, smashes another halfling and damages his back in the process. Pretty standard. And then gets a push. Oh, completely missed that. Pushes someone and moves in with his white. So I guess he pushed that halfling that's standing next to the top flesh golem there. Runs in to blitz that halfling. I'm not too sure what he has against this halfling. But either way, that halfling's just fine. And is he actually going to... Yeah, he is going to score. And he goes in and scores with his ghoul. I guess because he wanted to save his werewolf from the inevitable gang foul I was going to pull on him. So my opponent is up 1-0 at the moment. We got 2 damaged halflings and 1 knocked out. Which is pretty damn good considering the amount of blocks he pulled off on us. Well, our armour held up far better than it should have done. Far, far better than it should have done. However, we have yet to reduce our opponent in numbers, which is a bit of a pain in the arse. But we should have a lot better opportunity to do it now. That will be strolling up the pitch with our treeman. And he'll likely be wanting to move his guys in to come in and attack our cage. In which case, he might leave me some good opportunities to punch werewolves and smash ghouls' faces in. Possibly even dismember some whites, who knows. But those are my main targets right now. Priority on the werewolf, then the ghouls, then the whites, and then flesh golems and zombies I'm not too fussed about. If they get in the way, I'll hit them down, but for the most part, he can have as many zombies as he likes. And on to the kickoff. As you can see here, we get quick snap, which allows us to move all of our players 1 space, which isn't the most useful of the kickoff results, but it's still pretty handy. I mean, you know, it's not a blitz result or a perfect defense result for my opponent, so it's a pretty damn good result. Yeah. That alone makes it a pretty damn good result. So at the moment I am moving my guys a little bit back in the general area of where the ball is going to land, just so I can cage them around it and defend it a little bit easier. But it falls right to the back of the pitch, which is a real pain in the behind, but it's not too bad. I mean, I'd rather it be there than at the very front on one of the flanks, like the left or the right, because then if we do fail to pick it up, there's a good chance his werewolves and whites will run in, smash my halflings down and quickly intercept the ball and counter score yet again. So as you can see here, going to push some zombies out the way, clear the nuisances. I rush in another halfling so that I can 3 dice block this zombie. And this treatment has block on him. I did not notice that. Yep, this is a blocking treatment. So, a particularly useful treatment. I'm much better at beating the shit out of people treatment. I knew I got block on that treatment eventually. I just didn't recall whether or not it was in this game yet. But yeah, he is my #1 offensive treatment. Pushing that zombie back just to get him as far away as I can. And then smacking another zombie down with my halfling. Oh no, didn't smack him down, just pushed him. But get another opportunity to push him and get him the hell away from my halflings, so that's something. Now onto the business of actually going to get this ball. Normally I'd deal with defending the ball first before doing any attacks, but given it's so far down the pitch, I wasn't too bothered really. Though I probably should have been, because things can still go badly even with rerolls. Yeah, I should have really done all this business beforehand, because right now my bottom group of players are quite separated from my top group of players, and that werewolf is pretty damn fast. I do not want to be caught out with just 4 halflings dealing with the defense of the ball. So as you can see here, I'm just making a kind of a flimsy interceptory kind of cage here. Nothing. I'm not standing my guys right next to the ball carrier because they don't need to be, because no one can actually reach him. But I'm just kind of preparing them for the future in the positions they're in at the moment. I could actually, yeah, no, I can't foul that zombie, because in order to foul you have to declare that you're about to do it before you do anything with the player. So I missed my opportunity there. Having said that, fouling a zombie isn't the most useful thing in the world. I mean, they're only 10k more than my actual halflings. Getting one of them sent off, especially if he doesn't actually end up hurting the zombie, it would be a bit of a wasted time really. Now, as you can see, my opponent is rushing his quick players down my flanks here. So I better get that ball up the pitch pronto, or my chances of scoring are not only diminished, but my opponent's most likely to be able to grab the ball and score on me again. My opponent rushes his werewolf over to go and help the zombie smack one of the halflings down, but gets another double both down result, and the zombie knocks himself out and the halfling out yet again. I'm sure that happened earlier. The halflings are holding their own pretty well versus these zombies at the moment. They are not taking any shit from them, and as you can see, I run in there and try and hand off the ball so that I can at least use that bottom halfling as part of the cage. It was the first thing I did, as I wanted to make sure I had the reroll spare. But, to be honest, I probably should have moved those bottom 2 halflings first. Next thing I'm doing is punching this zombie forward, keeping them as far back from my ball carrier as I can. Moving a halfling in so I can get a 3 dice blitz on that werewolf, undoubtedly. Yeah, he's the bouncer among halflings. Come on, cage up, you bastard. Right, so I push my ball carrier forward. The zombie is still a bit of a threat at the moment, because the zombie can punch that halfling in his turn and then proceed to get a blitz in on my ball carrier if I'm not careful. I mean, actually that should be okay. Or will it be? I don't know. It's still kind of risky at the moment. I really want to punch that werewolf though. Yeah, if I want to secure the cage, I'll need to put another guy there to at least force him to have to make a dodge roll into my ball carrier. But I go for the blitz on the werewolf, which I'm dying to do, but unfortunately don't get any knockdown results. So it's just another push. I follow him up to keep the threat on his werewolf. That's at least going to have to force him to move his werewolf away, as my opponent is very aware I am gunning for that werewolf at the moment. And now onto the business of doing some more dodges. And yeah, we end up surrounding that zombie right there and managing to completely cover up our right flank of the cage, which is pretty damn lucky because I could have easily failed any one of those dodges. Oh, attempt to punch the zombie away, but I get double skulls. However, my guy is still, whilst being stunned, he's still on the pitch, so he's still locking up that area. So it's not really that bad a result at all. Having said that, he could punch the left halfling with his zombie and then come and blitz in with his bottom right ghoul on my ball carrier, so it's not great. And so first of all, it appears my opponent's decided to try and hit the top halfling with his zombie. I'm not sure why. That guy does have sidestep, so he can still keep himself semi-useful. I wouldn't be surprised if I actually go and stand next to the ghoul here. Yep, I am. Going to stand next to the ghoul. It at least forces the ghoul to have to... Well, he can dodge out, but, you know, always that bit of a risk there. But otherwise it keeps that ghoul occupied with the business of punching unimportant halflings rather than threatening my ball carrier. But yeah, he could have gone for a blitz on my ball carrier had he punched the halfling that's just above that right white and then blitzed in with that ghoul. So now my opponent's going to try and attack my treeman. My opponent rushes in to blitz that treeman, but only gets a pushed and a block result. And his ghoul moves on to the brazen business of punching the unimportant halfling. But again, only gets a defender stumbles result, which allows me to use my dodge, so he just gets pushed aside a little bit. He tries to dodge out with his werewolf, and luckily for me, he fails it and proceeds to badly hurt his werewolf in the process. Also fails his regeneration roll, so that was pretty damn lucky on my part. In the end, I didn't actually have to hurt his werewolf, as his werewolf simply hurt himself. So that was pretty damn sweet. So onto my turn. My halfling decides to take root. Can't be bothered to move around anymore. Now the werewolf's down, he's happy to just plant himself in the ground. Tries to take a swing at one of their flesh golems, but completely fails. And I decide it's time to throw my halfling, as I probably feel a bit threatened by the position I'm in. We're in one tackle zone, but we've got strong arm without treatment, so I still believe it's a 2+. Pick up the halfling and launch him down the field. Fail the first landing roll, but luckily succeed at the second one. I think with, specifically on the landing roll, since it's a 4+, with a reroll, specifically with a reroll, it's about a 75% chance of succeeding. Could be wrong, but I believe it's a 75% chance. Here I'm just having a discussion with my opponent about the merits of werewolves and how badly I want to take them down. But none of this matters anymore since that werewolf is gone. He will not be coming back onto the pitch again. Having said that, ghouls aren't useless. They're not quite werewolves, but considering claws useless against my halflings, they're only one movement off the werewolf, so they're still pretty damn dangerous. As you can also see, I've just moved my halfling up there. I've decided not to score with him. I also want to delay it a little bit. None of his players can actually reach that halfling, so I don't have to worry there, and I don't want to give my opponent 2 turns to be able to score, because he's still got a decent chance of doing it with his ghouls. So I try and get whatever blows upon his necromantic team I can with my halflings. And I decide to dodge out with one of my halflings to try and get in on that ghoul. I move him an extra space to the left so that I can move in this other halfling so that I can get 2 dice block on that damn ghoul. Try and hurt him since he's my next priority, but unfortunately just get a push and attacker down, so push him I do. And finally try and run one of my other halflings round the ghoul just to try and keep him in as much as possible. I mean, he's no threat to the ball carrier, but I'd still rather he doesn't take the opportunity to run him up there so that I can delay perhaps that 1 extra turn. Even though my opponent won't be able to get a 1-turn touchdown on... Well, my opponent could do a 1-turn touchdown. Doing a 1-turn touchdown is hard without a throw teammate and things like that, but I don't want to give him the opportunity. If my opponent still has a final turn left, I'll have to put 3 of my guys on the line of scrimmage to at least get an opportunity to hit them and possibly foul them. So I want to delay my opponent as long as I can. Also, it was probably worth just dodging out of those 2 tackle zones, because you do not want to be in 2 white tackle zones as a halfling. They're almost undoubtedly going to knock you down. And the majority of the time they should be hurting him. So his ghoul goes in to try and retaliate against my halflings that were clearly trying to batter him to the floor. But unfortunately for my opponent, he only gets a push result on him. But then goes ahead and smacks him with his white and badly hurts another one. So my reserve of players is dwindling by the moment. Unfortunately, this is what's going to happen though if you're trying to stand toe-to-toe with the enemy as halflings. Regardless of almost whoever the enemy are. I think only if you're against snotlings or goblins have you got any real fighting chance. So as you can see, my opponent's quite happy to trade blows with me. As he should be. But he gets a both down on his ghoul, on his flesh golem, against my non-blocking treatment, and gets a turnover as a result. So on to my turn 7. First thing I do, try and smash this zombie out of the way, so that I can get them modifiers on that ghoul, because I still really want to beat the shit out of that ghoul. I dodge with one of my halflings straight into the tackle zone of the white so that I can take away his modifiers, and then rush in to go and blitz his ghoul again. Am I going to reroll? I may as well reroll. I have nothing else to really use the reroll on, so I do reroll and get another defender stumble. So yet again he's just pushed thanks to having the dodge skill. But I do have another opportunity to block him, so long as I can get my guys out of the tackle zone of the white, so I can lay down them modifiers on that ghoul. So one more dodge, and it does work, so I've got an opportunity to do one more block on that ghoul. Try and stand up the treeman briefly, doesn't work. So on to the punching of the ghoul, and we get a defender down. Now he's only got armor 7, so we've got a pretty decent chance of breaking it. Smash! And he's knocked out, so that's a damn good result. Eventually we get a good result on that repeated attacking of the ghoul. And my opponent's going to have to roll a 4+ to get him back on the pitch. Attempt a 1 dice block on the final ghoul, but I get what I deserve. I get an attacker down for taking the silly risk, and that halfling is promptly knocked out. Still, one knocked out halfling for one knocked out ghoul is a trade I'm quite fine with making. Doesn't help that there's such a large group of damaged halflings at the moment. I could really do with having as many numbers as I can, but yeah, there you go, eh? I've still got enough halflings, still got more than enough. So long as my treemen are alright, things are still okay. Runs in with his white and gets an attacker down. Is this going to be another halfling off the pitch? Got a damn good chance of it being so. Oh, that one's armor holds up again, so yep, he's doing well. All he has left to do is a block with his bottom white upon my ghoul, and then and clearly go for the treeman foul, which is a wise idea. Might as well stick that zombie up that's lying on the floor and go in and try and stamp my treeman to the ground. So smacks the halfling. Again, the halfling's armor holds up. And up with the zombie, foot in the face, and there you go again, thick skull. A skill that I used to think was completely useless, but the amount of times it actually activates and keeps my guys on the pitch has more than proven me wrong. If that treeman was knocked out, I'd only have a 50-50 chance of him coming back on the pitch. And if he wasn't on the pitch, that would dramatically hinder my chances of actually getting a good result in this game, because you really need your bloody treeman. And as you can see now, it's half time. So none of my opponent's guys recover, but nor do any of mine. So how many players? My opponent has 9 players, surely. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Because there's a guy at the back, just behind that menu button. So that's 9 players for me. So I think it's 9 versus 9 right now. And it's time for the kickoff. So just another boring kickoff event. Typical nice weather, which is actually fine because I'm receiving. I can do without any special weather right now. And I get to choose who to give the ball to, thanks to my opponent blasting the ball straight off the pitch. So I give it to a fairly nearby halfling and run him straight into the protective arms of my treeman, or at least in that general area. push some halflings up the field. Get that cage. Get the beginnings of that cage being formed. Not in any absolute dire need to form it immediately, thanks to my opponent not having much of a chance to get round to my ball carrier right now. And proceed to push out the zombies even further to the flanks as I can. Spread out my treeman's area of influence, create as many tackle zones as I can, and in the process knock out a zombie, so that's always a nice start. I imagine now I will probably punch this zombie down and then proceed to move my halfling over to 3 dice block the other zombie. And yep, get some good results. Smash another zombie to the floor. And now time to annihilate this far left zombie. But I choose to blitz with him. So I attack down him. Push him into the tackle zone of my halfling while stunning him. So that's pretty damn handy. And I imagine I'm going to move this treeman. Yeah, I'm going to begin to form a better cage with this treeman in the front, as I don't want to leave it to the weak arms of flimsy halflings to try and defend. I still have 1 halfling left to move though. Actually, I might have one at the bottom of the pitch. I can't recall. But what the hell am I to do next? I'll probably just go and mark the zombie with this middle halfling. Either that or just... yeah, no, I think that's probably the wise thing to do. I decide to move him round to the left. Perhaps I'm having worrying thoughts of what that white might be able to do. I'm not sure. On to my opponent's turn. No chance of him getting the ball this turn. But he can begin to move his guys up into a position to do it next turn. Having said that, he's very low on numbers right now. So he runs in to blitz the right part of the cage with his ghoul. Gets another defender stumbles, so only a pushback for my halfling. But he does get to stand next to the ball carrier, so the threat has begun. Also runs in his flesh golem, laying down more tackle zones and also preventing me from being able to successfully knock out all the opponents from that halfling's tackle zone. So most likely I'm going to have to dodge with that halfling now. Yeah, and keeps on reinforcing those guys who are laying down tackle zones on my ball carrier, which is a good idea, as it will force me to dodge with him. I mean, I still could hit one flesh golem with the treeman standing next to him, blitz the other flesh golem with my other treeman, and then try and hit the ghoul with a halfling, but the chance that will knock down both flesh golems is pretty low, and since they have stand firm, I can't just budge them out of the way like I'd ideally like to be able to do. But I run in here and blitz with my treeman first. Push the ghoul straight into my ball carrier, I imagine. And therefore able to get my ball carrier out of those tackle zones for free. Having said that, I only pushed the ghoul, so he's still standing and still laying down a tackle zone. But he is in the tackle zone of my other treeman now. who has block on him and so can thump him to the floor. And damage his back apparently, so that's rather good. I mean, I don't really care for damaging his back. Badly hurt would be good enough. Just get him off the pitch, that's fine with me. But my ball carrier is now free to maneuver wherever he likes, and my opponent is really running low on dudes. Now the wise idea here, well actually no, he can't actually attack me from the right side since his white is too far up the side of the field. So I am actually perfectly safe on the right side with my ball carrier. I don't really need to fill in that part of the cage. His flesh columns are tied up. And it looks like his white is about to be knocked down, so even better. In fact, all I really need to do now is tie down that white. And if I can lock him up, my ball carrier is free to prance his way over to the touchline. Oh, my halfling dodges out of a tackle zone there. Yeah, he could have potentially ran round and used the GFI to punch my ball carrier otherwise. So I form the cage on that left side. Yep, this is all pretty safe, so that's good. Kind of surprised I didn't try and foul him there. Maybe I'm going to run in and foul with this right halfling. Yes, I am. Okay. With 3 modifiers, what can we do to this white? Stun him, which is perfectly fine. However, the halfling is sent off, which is less good, but hey, we knocked out a zombie and damaged Ghoul's back. So I really cannot complain. We've had some damn fine results so far. Yeah, my opponent's pretty damn screwed here. Thanks to my fortunate damaging rolls and his lack of numbers, he's only got 6 guys on the pitch, and 4 of them are no good at dealing with a ball. No good at dodging out, just good at thumping people, but since 3 of them are in the tackle zones of my treeman, he's really only got 3 guys he can maneuver with. I mean, 2 of them are whites, and whites are very useful, but I just heavily outnumber him so badly that he'll have one hell of a time actually getting this ball off me. But it's certainly not impossible. Certainly not impossible. He elects to try and perform 2 dice against on my treeman. Gets 2 push results. So I just get to keep my treatment in place there and nothing happens. Time to run in and blitz with his white. Knock the top part of the cage away. And BAM! He kicks the shit out of another halfling, as well as getting to stand next to my ball carrier, so that was probably the best thing he could have done right there. His options are limited. I think he probably made the best choice he could have done. So, judging by the way I'm moving my halfling there at the moment, looks like I'm going to go for the blitz on this white. So I promptly do and score a defender stumbles, so we'll be knocking that white to the floor. I probably want to knock him in the tackle zone of the treeman, but for some reason I didn't. Which I think is a bit stupid, but luck's on our side again and we get another stun on the white. So now I can run my halfling around there and get an extra turn to get the hell away from that white. His zombie won't be able to chase thanks to being so slow. So things are looking pretty damn good at the moment. His other white, his bottom white, will get to stand up this turn and begin to give chase, but Thanks to being on the floor, his movement will be very limited. So run around the right side I do with my Halfling holding the ball. His flesh golem's completely locked up, so they won't be able to do nothing about it. I mean, he could, I think they've got, yeah, they've got agility 2, so he could 4, 5, 6, try, on a roll of 4, 5 or 6 dodge out of the tackle zones of my treeman. As you can see how I'm trying to whack that topmost flesh golem with my treeman, precisely because with his reroll, if he does attempt to dodge out with his flesh golem, he's got a 75% chance of succeeding, which is still pretty damn good. And to counteract that, I move this last halfling up the pitch a little bit, just so that he can't actually swing round and blitz my ball carrier with his potential dodging flesh golem if he so chooses to do so. His bottom white is locked. Well, he's got a halfling standing next to him and he's on the floor, so he shouldn't be able to reach. Stun another golem, stun another zombie. And now my opponent has the tiresome hard job of actually trying to find a way to get this ball out of my ball carrier's hands. I'm quite surprised he didn't attempt to dodge with his bottom white there, because that guy is pretty much the only dude that can even begin to threaten my ball carrier. But instead he decides to blitz around with his zombie and try and push my sidestepping halfling back, but again only gets 2 push results, so I get to maneuver my sidestepping halfling where I like, and I elect to move him to the top right, so as I can move my ball carrier around, I'll have that halfling nicely in place. I'll have that halfling nicely in the front of that zombie to prevent him from being able to dodge out and potentially punch my ball carrier. Tries another 2 dice against on my treeman. This treeman doesn't have block, but since he rolled both down and pushed, I just choose the push result. Goes for another hit though. Again 2 dice against, so unfortunately for him it's very hard to get anything achieved here since my treeman are so heavily locking down these flesh golems. So first thing I do is maneuver that halfling around. Try and separate him from the rest of the enemy team as quickly as possible. Here I attempt to break tackle out with my treatment. Completely fail on the first roll, but succeed on the second one. To keep that zombie on the floor, as that zombie is the biggest threat to my ball carrier right now. And another stun. Mighty Blow is fantastic. Now the zombie's no threat, so the only one that may be a threat are the flesh golems. The white, I would say, is just a little bit too far away to be any real trouble here. He has got one more movement than my ball carrier, but there's so much distance between the two that I'm not too fussed about it. I go and put a halfling at the top next to his zombie and white to prevent them from being able to pull off any fancy dodging maneuvers to get close to my ball carrier, and basically just lock his team down as heavily as I can here. Drop a flesh golem and get another stun. My opponents would really fire his blacksmith here because his armour is not holding out at all. Constantly breaking it. We have lost a lot of halflings, but considering my opponent had no subs, he's lost the vast majority. He's actually lost more of his team percentage wise than I have of mine. Gets up with a blitz to try and push this halfling out of the way. Thanks to having a modifier on him, he only gets a 1 dice hit upon him. And eventually knocks him back a space. The only alternative thing to do here is to possibly dodge out with that zombie in the top right. But instead he tries to dodge out with his white and is successful, and GFIs down the pitch. So now we have a new threat. That white can potentially cause us trouble. He then goes and blocks the other halfling at the bottom of the pitch. Yet again, he should really try and get the number of our armor smith, because our armor's constantly holding up. And does another 2 dice block against my treatment. Another POW push result. So yet again, flesh golems being completely useless. But that's what's going to happen when they're tied up by treatment, I guess. And it's time to move my ball carrier down the pitch. But I do have to deal with this bloody white. Because this guy is a big, big threat. Move my ball carrier along the side of the pitch. Not generally the wiser things to do. But, you know, I don't really mind if my ball carrier does get turfed off the pitch. Because, I've got so many more players than he does. It's a good chance I'll be able to intercept the ball in whatever random place it lands before he does. But not a threat now as I rush in, blitz with my treatment and smash that white to the floor. So his threat has been neutralized. Yeah, I'm wondering about the wolf. Yeah, I was wondering about what happened to his second werewolf, and that was it. His other werewolf was out on a MNG? What's an MNG? Minor. And here you can see the reasoning for why my opponent's other werewolf isn't in the game. Attempt to dodge out with my halfling so I can put down a modifier on that flesh golem and then 3 dice block the zombie. But he fails his dodge roll and knocks himself out. Still, we're in no real threat at the moment. We've got his top white completely locked down. And that guy is the only real threat to the ball right now. But my opponent, deciding to actually want to get a successful blow upon this bloody treatment, decides to run his white around and get in the tackle zone. Again though, my opponent fails to be able to knock the treeman down. He gets up with a blitz with his white, tries to knock a halfling out with the intention of then dodging out of the halfling's tackle zone. But no. For some reason he decided to push the halfling to the right side. I'm not sure why he didn't just push the halfling to the left. I guess, yeah, because then he'd been dodging into another tackle zone, I guess. And use his GFIs to get himself up the pitch. Force me to score as fast as possible to at least give himself the chance to draw. Which is a wise idea. I still can lock up that white, but That doesn't mean it's impossible for him to find a way around and potentially blitz that halfling. And I really would not want that to happen. What you don't see here is that I begin to deliberate for ages over what to do. I'm considering trying to tie up this white and hold him in place for as long as possible so I can delay the amount of turns my opponent has to counter score. But I'm also worried I'll completely screw something up and then give my opponent the chance to just knock the ball straight out of the hands of my halfling and potentially run off with the ball. I begin by moving my halfling up into the top part of the tackle zone of the white. I then try and manoeuvre my treeman over, which would involve 2 GFIs. I actually failed to take root here, which is probably actually a good thing, as it prevented me from actually taking any silly risks, from actually risking anything that could potentially get my ball carrier hurt. And so I get cold feet and immediately just say fuck it and score. My opponent's only got 2 turns left to counter score. Very doable, but he's low on players, so it's not all bad for him. However, one of his ghouls and zombies recovers. However, I also recover a few of my players. So my defense will be that little bit better. But yeah, having a ghoul back does give my opponent a very reasonable chance of possibly getting that last goal and drawing the game up. Okay, here you can see me counting squares. I'm trying to get a really cool, clever kickoff. Then I'd cower out of that as well and decide to just play it safe. But despite that, it rolls. It rolls badly. Oh, it doesn't. It doesn't roll that badly. Okay, I thought it was going to actually roll off the pitch, but no, it just rolled in front of my opponent's white on the left flank. He could pick it up with his white. He could also pick it up with his ghoul. Possibly hand it off to his white and give his white a chance to blaze down the pitch, but he wouldn't have much support, so yeah, let's see what happens. Ooh, you certainly got a chance. So my opponent runs his ghoul in, picks up the ball successfully, hands it off to the white. Yep, I did pretty much recall what he did here. And by pretty much, I mean I completely and utterly recalled what he did here. Though I can't remember what happens next. I'm sure he's going to run down the pitch, though. I'm pretty sure he runs down the pitch. Admittedly, you know, I haven't got that many people far back. One of them's a bit tied up by the white. If I can only use those 2 halflings on the left flank to get to his white, I will only get a 1-die splits against him, which is not good, especially on a guy that has block. And he GFI running blitzes in his flesh golem and proceeds to fail his GFIs, which is remarkably good for me, and so his flesh golem plummets to the floor. As it goes, looks like I didn't set up quite far enough back. Should have played it even safer and got my halflings that bit further back down from the pitch so I didn't have to risk getting beaten up by these filthy flesh golems. First thing I do is try and throw another halfling in to go and support the whole blitz upon the white maneuver, but he fumbles it. Do I reroll? I doubt I do. Nope. Choose not to reroll because it's a bit risky. I'd rather use my reroll for potentially blitzing that damn white. Maneuver another halfling over into the tackle zone of the white. I don't know why. I might have, so it looks like I'm going to try and punch that white to the floor. But not yet. First of all, I'm going to do my movement. Get halflings in the tackle zones of these whites, though obviously the one on the far left is the massive priority right now. In fact, I don't see why. I don't think I will be trying to attack the white on the right. Because if I do that, I cannot successfully attack the one on the left. Right, okay, so I was just moving that halfling originally into that right white's tackle zone just to be there and tie him up. And now I plan to move out with this other halfling and 2 dice blitz this damn ball carrying white, and we get a good result. Defender stumbles, knock him to the floor. And the ball stays on the pitch, and the white is stunned. Having said that, that ghoul is still there, and even if this white is stunned, his ghoul can potentially do nasty things. But now he has a tackle zone laid on his arse. So hopefully that'll help. And it looks like I'm going to try and break tackle out with my treeman here. And try and get a bit more security around this ball. Still got my reroll, so I go in for the last GFI. Might as well use them up now. I've got 3 rerolls and only 1 more turn, so life is pretty good. So my opponent immediately tries to smack down my sidestepping halfling here with his right white. Knocks him to the floor, but no damage done. And then goes and finishes off the blitz maneuver by running his white down to the bottom of the pitch to potentially catch that ball should he pick it up. Clever maneuver on my opponent's part. And even if he doesn't succeed at it this turn, he still will have another turn to try. His zombie runs around to get in the way of my halfling there, and then he proceeds to dodge out his ghoul, but fails to pick up the ball. So that one tackle zone did do its job. It did help a little bit. Now my final turn. I decide to smash this flesh golem to the face with my treeman, which is successful, so that from there on I can potentially go and turf this frigging ghoul off the side of the pitch. So dodge and a GFI. That works. Now we are in place to pull it off. 2 dice block straight on that ghoul off the damn pitch. Which fails, but we have a reroll, and fails again. So both down it is, and we can at least drop him to the floor. Having said that, he does badly hurt my halfling and get some SPPs for that result. Now he's on the floor, so he can't do as much as he'd be able to do otherwise. He can't move quite as far, but he still can get up and attempt to pick up the ball. He comes in to blitz my halfling and shows the other halflings how you go about actually turfing a player off the side of the pitch. Maybe they could learn something from this. Now the ball is in no tackle zones. All he's got to do is dodge out of the one tackle zone that the Halflings are laying down upon the ghoul, pick up the ball and throw the damn thing. Dodges successfully, picks up the ball successfully. But completely fucks up the throw, which was very lucky for me. Because the catch would have been a 3+, that would have been pretty damn easy. It was just the throw there that was the tough part. 5+, my opponent said. So, yeah. We get pretty fortunate to win that game. My opponent put up a tough fight, and luck was on my side. We busted his armour plenty of times. He really didn't bust our armour that often, considering the amount of blocks he got off on us. And yeah, all in all, it was very close to a draw. But things go our way and we win, and that is what's fantastic.